So Danny here, I'm with Mike today. So Mike was the founder of a paedophile hunting team. So today we're just here to have an open and frank conversation about the different work, what we do. So, you know, going back to when I was working at the Inquiry, yeah, the reason I joined the Inquiry and wanted to join the Inquiry ultimately was to hunt paedophiles, yeah. So what's the difference between me and this guy? Do you know what I mean? Maybe I was just flipping, fortunate, enough to get on the Inquiry and stuff and flipping, help bring paedophiles down and flipping expose institutions, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Mike was doing his thing. So, there's not that much flipping difference in a sense. It was just frowned upon what Mike does and not frowned upon on what I was doing, because ultimately I was working for the Home Office, getting paid by the Home Office to be a consultant.
While I was exposing people in the Home Office.
Yeah. So we're just going to take you on a bit of a flipping journey, really, and have an open and frank conversation about Mike's work, what he's been doing. Myself and Mike have been linked together in the past. So they put me, when I was working at Inquiry, they put me and Mike in the Daily Mail and did an article on us saying Alexis J's paedophile hunter, or whatever it said, like referring to myself, linked to paedophile hunting teams. Yeah, little did they know, if they'd had done any flipping proper research, the reason that I know Mike in the first place, because Mike came to us and we met because Mike was a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, so he was offering support, but they made all this twisted link up. Do you know what I mean? And just put out what they thought would kind of sell papers.
That's media though, isn't it?
That's the media for you, and that's what the media do. So me and Mike have been having a conversation about the stuff that he does and why he did what he did, why he founded the group that he founded and stuff. So I'm gonna hand over to Mike. So just before I start, we've been having this sort of conversation about, so I'm working with young people at the moment to protect young people by the detached outreach work that we do, frontline stuff, working with young people, trying to protect them, trying to educate them. So Mike, on the other side of the fence, is going after the perpetrators, trying to protect young people. And we were saying, how can this meet in the middle? Because the thing is, with what Mike's doing, I believe he's never going to get any support off the police. He's never going to get to where he kind of sort of hopes to be with what he's doing. So it's like, how can we meet in the middle? And Mike was saying, and he kind of agreed and made a good point, that there is no middle with what we're doing. There is no middle ground. So I'm just going to hand over to Mike now. Mike?
I've been hunting paedophiles now since 2017, and I've had a massive success with it. There's a lot of awareness happened. There's a lot of convictions that have come off the back of it. But the one thing that hasn't changed is the number of paedophiles that, one, are online actively grooming children. One of the things that I've noticed more and more is that the amount of child grooming cases, real child grooming cases that come through to us, has increased tenfold. And effectively what we're now doing is acting as the middleman between normal day mum and dad who see paedophile hunters as the way to get things done. We had a case the other day, and a real 12-year-old girl had been groomed online and met a predator, and that came to us, and this kid had sent indecent images and then deleted them off a phone and met the predator. And I can't do nothing with that. That's an instant safeguarding issue. So what we had to do was, then tell them parents that they need to speak directly to the police. And that's what I'm finding with this now. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, long enough to see that nothing has changed. If anything, it's got worse. You know, there's hunting groups out there at the minute that are just, in my opinion, fucking it up, excuse the French, but they're just, you know, they're making a mockery of something that we set out to do in such a good way for all the right reasons. A lot of glory hunting going on, a lot of people, you know, kind of exposing who they are and putting their face out there so they're known as a paedophile hunter. I started doing what I was doing because I'm a survivor. You know, that was my... If anything, I think it was probably the best therapy that I've ever had. As a survivor, because it's exposure therapy, I was standing in front of offenders regularly. And I saw that as being something that was good. Now, don't get me wrong, while I love watching paedophiles crumble and watching their lives fall apart.
So what impact does that have on you though, Mike, on your mental health? Because you say you love it and stuff. Me personally, I couldn't do that because I don't think that'd be good for my mental health, and that would... I don't know if I could contain myself, to be honest with you.
I've had to contain myself though. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the one thing I don't want to do, and one thing I've always been clear on and quite adamant with, is that I don't want to turn those offenders, those predators, into victims. You know, the real victims are the kids out there that are being abused daily. The kids that are being raped, and sexually exploited to be in the pictures that these predators look at online and seek out online. They're the real victims. So for me, it's always been a calm composure, because ultimately my main aim was to get these people convicted and to expose these people for what they really are. Because once you've been exposed for something like that, it's difficult to come back from that.
So the thing is, you do decoy work yourself, Mike, as well. So pretending to be a young girl or a young boy online, you know, sometimes flipping months chatting to paedophiles. How's that affect you? Really?
I can honestly say, well, you know how it
That's why I'm asking you, mate.
The start of 2019, I had a massive breakdown, huge, and I didn't realise how ill I actually was as a result of all the pressure and you know, all the things that have come on the back of the paedophile hunting. And you know, it took me a long time to kind of, I mean, we're in 2020 now, and I'm only just kind of grasping what's happened and you know, kind of the past 3 years nearly of my life. It's been a whirlwind journey, but as I say, nothing has changed. You know, the CPS guidelines haven't changed like we wanted to try and change them. The police's view on exposing paedophiles is regarded to be a safeguarding risk, which I agree to. I agree, yeah, it is a safeguarding risk, because then once we've exposed these paedophiles, the police have then got to put measures in place to, one, protect the family, two, protect their households. And I had a conversation with a detective the other day, and you know, he was saying, we don't want to be protecting these people's families. What we want to be doing is investigating the crimes that you're bringing to us. There's a massive stigma around paedophile hunting, and I genuinely do not think it's ever going to be accepted. So it's, you know, it's about changing your direction in a way, and trying to find new ways not to highlight offenders, because while I would quite happily continue the rest of my days highlighting offenders, they're not getting the sentencing. There's no, you know, the sentencing guidelines are shocking. And there's no reward, because what these people are doing, they're going inside, they're going straight onto a VP wing, they're being protected. You know, I've known cases where they've tried putting offenders in for CBT therapy as part of the rehabilitation, and under the Human Rights Act, they don't have to do it. It's a choice thing. So there is no rehabilitation. There's nothing in place to really rehabilitate these people. So we're kind of fighting a losing battle, I feel.
So that takes us on to yesterday. So with Mike's lived experience of his life, you know, who sits before you now, basically, the truth of the matter is two scally kids who've been written off.
Written off, two little dickheads off the estate, weren't they?
Yeah, who's been written off. You know, and that's the message that we've had passed to us over the years when growing up. Messages from teachers, messages from police that, you know, you'll never amount to nothing. You know, that doesn't have to be the case. That isn't true. That isn't a true story. That's someone else's opinion.
Dead or in jail, he told me.
Dead or in jail. As Mike said, he's not dead and he's not in jail and he hasn't been to jail either. And he's no criminal record.
No, man, clean.
So, yesterday, but Mike's also got a lot of life experience from growing up, from his involvement in, you know, what would be looked at now as gangs, drugs, county lines, carrying weapons, all that kind of stuff. So what we kind of sort of challenge Mike to is to turn things around, you know, for his own mental health and his own well-being, for peace of mind for his family, because I'm sure your missus must worry to death each time you go out, because it's dangerous, mate. You don't know what you're walking into. Ultimately, you can do as much research as you want.
I've been out on jobs and it's got crazy, crazy people pulling knives out and that, and it's just, you know what? I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up to, you know, I've got kids at the end of the day. It's not, I'm not willing to put myself at risk anymore, especially when we're seen as worse than the perpetrators. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not, you know, a lot of these new hunters that are about have got that fuck the police mentality. I haven't got that mentality. The police are just massively under-resourced and concentrating on things like county lines and, you know, drug trafficking and people trafficking, and it's just, you know, it starts at the top for me. It's the government. The government ultimately needs to shape up, but it is about changing direction.
So, which brings me on to yesterday. So, Mike came out with us yesterday. So he was going seeing some young people, doing some work with young people on the streets over in Preston. So, you know, I have got every faith in Mike. I can see the skills and attributes, knowledge, lived experience, professionalism that he has got. But for me, it just needs channeling in a different direction. So Mike came out with us yesterday and voluntarily came out with us to speak to some young people and share his life experiences. And I thought, you know, have a look at what we do. Have a look at how we operate, have a look at how we interact with young people and why we're doing what we're doing on the streets with young people, ultimately to create change for the future generation, so they're armed with the tools that we didn't have at the time, which made us vulnerable, which made us targets for paedophiles and people wanting to manipulate for their own end. How can we pass these tools on that we have now as adults to young people and educate them, basically? So Mike came down with us yesterday to speak to some young people, and he had a massive impact. And it's like, this is the other side of things, Mike, and how things can go. So how did you find yesterday? I know how the young people found yesterday.
You know what? They're my kind of people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the rough estates. I was that little kid on the estate. And I was that naughty little kid on the estate. And, you know, like you said, written off. These kids are written off, man. These kids they was just excited just to see us. And it, you know, like when I got home last night and I sat down with my partner, my kids was upstairs, safe in bed, and I was talking to my partner and I was saying to her, you know what, like, it humbled me, because I recall being that kid on the estate that had nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one was, there was no professional curiosity. If I saw someone approaching me in a suit, with, you know, looking down on me, I'd instantly think they're an idiot. Whereas yesterday, those little those little guys and girls didn't see us as idiots. They just saw us as people who cared. And it massively impacted me, because you know what? All I've been trying to do for the past 2.5, 3 years is protect those kind of people, the most vulnerable kids in our society. And to be out there yesterday on the front line, actually listening to these little people and listening to their stories, and you know, seeing them test waters at first, but then
it was after robbing your chain, weren't
they wanted to rob my chain. Are they real diamonds? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh my god, like, can I wear it? And I was like, you better not run off with it. But like, just little people, and all they needed was just that interaction and that guidance, where somebody's not looking at them as a number or a naughty kid. Someone's just looking at them as just a kid, because that's all they are. They're just kids. It completely blew me away. I felt really quite humbled sitting there last night and realising, one, I haven't repeated the cycle with my own kids. My kids are safe. My kids are good, looked after, happy, fresh, nurtured, loved. And it also made me realise how things haven't changed. I'm 33, man. Like this has been going on for years and years and years and years and years, and there's a very thin line between living a nice life and living a life of poverty, and it's clear that these kids are living in a life of poverty. Whether that be financial poverty or just a poverty because they're in lack of love and lack of guidance. And to be able to reach out and speak to those young people and be around those young people, and for them to look and, you know, and respect, like, it certainly put a lot of things into perspective for me.
So my selfishly or whatever, my challenge is to you, Mike, is to, because I can see in you and see what a big impact you could make in young people's lives, still protecting children.
Exactly.
My challenge is to you is to stop what you're doing, because I don't personally, your mental health is flipping dangerous. The impacts on the family, on your family, the impacts on you, it's going to take its toll, and you're going to burn out like last time and flipping have a breakdown and be in that dark flipping place. But from seeing you yesterday,
it was mega, wasn't it?
And after yesterday, the smile on your face for putting a smile on young people's faces.
Just sitting around, I'm not going to mention names, but sitting around with that family. Do you know what I mean? Sitting around with that family and just having a bit of KFC and just, you know, seeing that family unit together, even though the system's against that family. Like being with that family and seeing that family for what it is. This is, you know, and this is where, for me, the failure is with the system, because social services, instantly, if they see someone that's loud or whatever else, they'll try and perceive that person to be something that they're not. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I think that the system is, because of so many failings that have gone on in the past with social services, I almost think that they're trying to overprotect kids now, which isn't the answer. Do you know what I mean? There's kids out there living in poverty that don't need to be living in poverty, but there's kids out there that are loved and have got social services crawling all over them just because one kid's not. They're not trying to channel where that behaviour's come from and what's causing that behaviour. Do you know what I mean?
So how much man hours would you put into one case that you was working with? So you get a referral through from a parent or whoever, saying either from a parent or from a decoy account.
It can be months and months and months and months and months. You know what I mean? I'd rather spend that months and months and months and months and months watching a real kid grow.
So we was out for, we was out for about 4 hours or something yesterday. Yeah. 4 hours of our time. Yeah. The
turnaround was crazy.
We must have interacted with
20 kids.
About 20 people yesterday. Yeah. So if you split that up between the 20, I'm shit at maths, but it's not. I don't know how long it is. 20 flipping minutes per kid or whatever. Yeah. To see that difference that you made in them young people's lives yesterday by inspiring them
makes me feel like I've been wasting my time, to be honest. And it hurts saying that because I put a lot of time into what I'm doing, but I can't help but feel like it's a losing battle. Do you know what I mean? There's kids out there right now. In them kids yesterday, I saw little me. Little Mike was within them kids yesterday. I was that kid. And to see Big Mike going out there and engaging with those little kids, it was almost as if everything had just, I don't know, man, it was like it had gone full circle. Does that make sense? Like, I've gone full circle. I've gone through the trauma. I've survived the trauma. I've gone through the mental health and what comes with that. And now I'm kind of in this place, and it's an equal plane. It's the first. It was mad. It was weird feeling like that last night.
And for me, it's time to pass it on. Pass on your recovery from trauma.
Yeah.
You know, whether, I'm not saying that all the kids have been sexually abused or anything like that, but there's neglect there, there's poverty, there's those things that you named before, those, you know, those traumatic events, whether the mum and dad are on drugs, or mum's drinking, there's people in the house, people knocking on the door, whatever that is, you know, it's trauma on a young person's life.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? And you've been through all that trauma, come out the other side, so it's like, you know, it's that gift of pass it on.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward, educate young people.
Just to be able to change one kid's life is a blessing, to be fair. The power of one, anyway. You know, that's, I've always worked off that. You'll never know the true number of how many kids you're actually gonna help just by helping one. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for what's about to come.
So watch this space. Let's see what happens. Thanks for your time today, Mike. And
You'll be seeing more of me soon.
thank you.